All praise be to God, the Father, the Creator, who's thinking this existence into being, as David says in Psalms, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made. The word meaning, yes, I'm his word. Then I was by him, as one brought up with him, daily his delight. He taught me all this. And we all have those ancient memories, because there's no new thing under the sun. We're all reincarnated. God has put these dreams in our head and these pasts in our hearts, and we know that these other dimensions exist. God had put the world in their heart. That's the King James Version. God had put eternity in their heart because he wants us to know, and that's how he evangelizes, with these visceral feelings. When we meet someone that we know is not good for us, we have that visceral response, and then we go against it, and then later we say to ourselves, I knew. The first impression. You know, how many times do you know someone, some close friend who's been broken by some marriage, and they say they knew when they were on the threshold, literally, in church, that they should say no. But then at that point, everybody would hate them, and the parents would be, so they're not thinking long term, because they're just thinking about the horror of that day, which would be soon forgotten. And any wise person would say, thank God you got out of it now, and we only had to pay for the wedding rather than 2 kids without a family. So I myself am the most impulsive, stupid person that ever lived, so I'm talking as if I know how to do these things. Of course, objectively, we see these things, and then God allows us to fall into them, and we see that we all have these blind spots, and that's the reason why we have friends and family, so they know our blind spots and say, you're doing that thing again, and we say, oh yeah. That's why there's isolation is what makes people crazy. That's why they isolate people in prison, in solitary confinement. So there's no sense of reality. They have no reference point, and they know that's part of torture. As God says in Proverbs and Psalms that, 2 is better than 1, because when 2 fall, the other can help him up, metaphorically and literally. So everything God says is true. All doctrine is profitable. Okay, it's all unto edification. So I'm going to resume with chapter 6 of the Ecclesiastes, the preacher. And then in this King James Version, there's a epithet: unless a man's soul is filled with good, his riches, wealth, honor, and posterity are vanity. And we know that vanity is the theme of Ecclesiastes. All is vanity and vexation of spirit. Not only vanity, not only completely futile, but as fuel for the fire, as the little topper on that futility, is that horrible irritation and that irritability of being in this vexing, slippery. Everything's so slippery. Oh, that thing's gonna fall. We gotta get there. This fearful hysteria that is a sham. I'm not diminishing the fact that those emotions exist and are horrible, but of course they don't really. They're an illusion, because God already wrote it, and he knows that he either ordained us to glory or to condemnation, and we know this too. So it's an exercise, as God says, in a pun, meaning it's an exercise, and an exercise, he's exorcising the demon of Satan in this incarnation, for which he invented one of his toys, time, at 421. So let's look at Ecclesiastes 6. And I'm going to talk softly. I don't want to wake people. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun. In fact, I'm going to... I really need to, speak softly, more soft. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and is common among men, a man to whom God hath given riches, wealth, and honor, so that he wanteth nothing for his soul of all that he desireth. Yet God giveth him not power to eat thereof, but a stranger eateth it instead. This is vanity, and it is an evil disease. If a man beget 100 children, and the many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. For he cometh in with vanity, and he departeth in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor known anything. This hath more rest than the other. Yea, though he live 1,000 years, twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go for one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. For what hath the wise man more than the fool? What hath the poor that knoweth to walk before the living? Better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. That which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man. Neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Seeing there be many things that increaseth vanity, what is man the better? For who knoweth what is good for man in this life? All the days of his vain life, which he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? All praise be to the glory of God.